let's talk about scissors and the types that I use and why. I'm Michelle and this is my romantic tangle. I have been quilting and knitting and cross-stitching for years, and I don't own a fancy pair of dedicated sewing scissors. When I first started quilting 15 or so years ago, somebody put the idea in my head that to be a real quilter, I needed a quality pair of shears, and then somebody else, before I got around to buying an expensive pair, gave me the advice to just buy a halfway decent set of 8-inch shears, and when they started to get dull, buy another pair. And I am so glad I followed that advice because it has worked well for me for a long time now. I started out using the orange 8-inch Fiskars sewing shears that you find at Joann's, and I have nothing against those, but then I found these at Costco. They're Scotch 8-inch titanium blade. I don't know that the titanium blade actually means anything significant, but they sell them in a 3-pack for, I think it's around $12, and they have coupons on them on a fairly regular basis. So if I'm at Costco and they have a coupon, I buy 3 new pairs. The last time I bought 3 new pairs, I did not get any of them because I live in a house with other people. And that is one of the reasons, beyond the fact that I'm kind of cheap, that I don't buy a pair of fancy, expensive, dedicated sewing shears, because honestly, my scissors get used for all kinds of things that are not appropriate. Often they're used by me or because someone needs a pair of scissors and it's just faster to hand over the ones that are starting to get dull. And I could have a special magical pair of sewing scissors that I kept all for myself, but I don't have the energy for that. Not when I can get a pair at Costco for $4 that will serve my purposes. I use these for quilting. I use these for cutting, for whatever I need to cut fabric for. Now, a lot of my quilting I do with a rotary cutter and ruler, so it's possible that if I was doing a whole lot of garment sewing, I might see the need for something sharper and fancier, but it's also gotten really hard to find someone to sharpen your expensive sewing shears. Everyone I know local sends them out to someone else, and I don't have the time or patience to figure that out. My husband has started sharpening all of our knives and has a great sharpener, so if I find a pair of shears at an estate sale at a decent price, I'm going to buy them and see what he can do, but otherwise I'm sticking with these. These are inexpensive, they're great. These are from the Dollar Tree. They're the Jot Just One Thing brand, and for paper or for cutting measuring tape for snap bags or anything that is not fancy fabric, I buy these, and I also try to keep a pair of these around for the rest of the family to use. They're functional. They're cheap. I have not kept a pair intact long enough to see how long they hold their edge, because I once had a pair of my good sewing scissors used to cut the floor mats for the pickup truck. To be fair, I did hand them over to my husband and say he could use them if he sharpened them when he was done, so he did not take my scissors. I gave them to him. For just regular day-to-day cutting, these work well for me. And I have I have 4 or 5 of these. I got them at my local quilt shop for, I think, $4 or $5. They are cheap, they're sharp, they're great for snipping floss, and they come in all kinds of cute patterns. I've got one that's got spools, I've got one that looks like a little lady, and I think these are her arms. For my counted cross stitch, this is about as fancy as I want to get. I know that there are fabulously gorgeous scissors out there, and yeah, I kind of covet them, but I also know that I would lose them, so I make myself happy with these. And for a whole lot of years, because when I started cross stitching I had very young children, I bought these. These are the rounded tip kids safety scissors from the back to school section at Walmart, and to throw in your sewing or knitting bag to snip floss and yarn. These work really well. They are dirt cheap. You do not have to worry about losing them. If I was doing fancy hardhanger or cut work or intricate applique, obviously these would not work, but for cutting floss and yarn, these are fantastic. And I bought these to make this video. Before I made the video, they were in the Walmart bag in one of my sewing bags, and someone went scavenging for scissors, opened them, and used them on his beard. Trust me, I guilt-tripped my teenage boy a lot about that because I chased all over Walmart trying to find these. Back to school, they're easy and all over the place. In April, not so much. And the reality is that if I'm cross-stitching or knitting, I am just as likely to use a pair of nail clippers or a seam ripper to cut my threads, because I'm less likely to use them or loan them out than I am the scissors. So that is my less than dazzling scissors stash. It works really well for me. I think life is too short to be super attached to a pair of scissors. Maybe someday when it is just my husband and me and I don't have so many people sharing my supplies, but honestly, I doubt it. Don't let anybody convince you that you need a very expensive pair of scissors, because honestly, you don't. If you want expensive dedicated scissors, go for it. I am not going to talk you out of it. But don't feel like if you're going to be a real stitcher or a real quilter that you need to overextend yourself. Let me know in the comment section below, what is in your sewing bag? Do you have the fancy stuff or the Dollar Tree stuff or something in between? Thanks for watching. I'm Michelle. This is my Romantic Tangle, and I'll be back with you with more videos soon.